I'm sure you've heard the news about Air India flight AI-171, but I don't think people understand just how much this tragedy has shaken the world of aviation. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're diving into the investigation results of Flight AI-171. As we covered in the last episode, we already discussed when and where the incident occurred, as well as how many people were affected. This tragic event has touched countless lives and sparked serious concern across the nation. Today, we'll focus on what may have caused this devastating accident, based on the latest findings from investigators. We'll also look at how the government is responding, from rescue operations to safety inspections, and the steps being taken to prevent this from happening again. So make sure you stay with me till the end to get the full story and all the latest updates. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an important update like this. On June 12, 2025, Air India Flight AI-171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, departed from 𝗕𝗲𝗵𝗵 International Airport in Ahmedabad, India. The flight was bound for London's Gatwick Airport, a routine long-haul journey with 242 souls on board. However, this flight would not be routine. Just 32 seconds after its wheels left the tarmac, the aircraft plummeted back to Earth. The devastating crash tragically claimed the lives of 241 passengers and crew, as well as 19 individuals on the ground at a nearby student hostel. This event marked a somber milestone in aviation history, as it was the first fatal accident involving the technologically advanced Boeing 787 Dreamliner, an aircraft celebrated for its safety and efficiency. The initial moments of any flight are among the most critical, demanding intense focus and precision from the flight crew. As AI-171 climbed into the Indian sky, everything appeared normal. The aircraft, registration 𝗕𝗲𝗵𝗵, responded as expected, its two powerful General Electric GNX-1B engines generating the immense thrust required for takeoff. The pilots would have been retracting the landing gear and preparing for the next phase of their climb. In the cabin, passengers were settling in for the long journey ahead. Nothing on the surface suggested that a catastrophic failure was imminent, making the subsequent events all the more shocking and difficult for investigators to comprehend in the immediate aftermath. The critical turning point occurred just 3 seconds after the aircraft became airborne. In a sequence that defies normal operational logic, both of the engine fuel control switches in the cockpit were moved from their standard run position to cutoff. These switches, which are designed to stop the flow of fuel to the engines, were activated one after the other, separated by only a single second. The immediate effect was a total and simultaneous loss of thrust from both engines. The roar of the massive turbofans fell silent, leaving the nearly fully loaded jetliner without its primary source of power at an extremely low altitude, a perilous situation for any aircraft. With both engines silenced, the aircraft's automated emergency systems sprang to life. The ram air turbine, or RAT, a small propeller that deploys from the fuselage, automatically activated. This crucial device uses the airflow from the plane's movement to generate emergency hydraulic and electrical power, ensuring the pilots retain control over essential flight surfaces like the ailerons and elevators. Concurrently, the aircraft's auxiliary power unit, or APU, would have initiated its startup sequence, but this process takes around 90 seconds to complete. Tragically, Flight AI-171 did not have that much time. The pilots had only a few precious seconds to diagnose and rectify the emergency before their altitude was gone. The cockpit voice recorder, or CVR, is one of the two black boxes that are indispensable to any modern air crash investigation. This device captures all sounds within the cockpit, including pilot conversations, alarms, and interactions with aircraft systems. The recovered audio revealed a brief, frantic exchange between the pilots that points not to a technical malfunction they were fighting, but to a moment of profound confusion. This dialogue has become the central mystery of the investigation, suggesting the power loss was an unexpected and perhaps inexplicable event even to those in command. According to the preliminary analysis of the CVR data, one pilot was heard asking the other a direct and alarmed question: "Why did you cut off the fuel?" This query, uttered in the midst of a developing crisis, indicates that the loss of engine power was immediately linked to the position of the fuel control switches. The response from the other pilot was equally telling, and has only deepened the mystery surrounding the crash. He replied with a simple, direct denial. "I did not." This exchange suggests that neither pilot was aware of having intentionally moved the switches, or at least one of them believed a deliberate action by the other had occurred, which was then refuted. This back and forth paints a picture of utter bewilderment in the cockpit. The pilots, faced with a dual-engine failure at the most vulnerable stage of flight, appear to have been trying to understand the cause of their predicament, not just react to it. The dialogue implies that the movement of the switches was not a coordinated action, nor was it part of any standard or emergency procedure. Instead, it seems to have been an event that caught both members of the flight crew completely by surprise. The confusion over who, if anyone, was responsible for the action has left investigators with a puzzle that has no easy answers and points away from simple pilot error. Adding another layer to the sequence of events, data from the flight data recorder shows that approximately 10 seconds after the switches were moved to cutoff, a desperate attempt was made to restore power. The switches were moved back to the run position. This action successfully initiated a restart sequence in one of the engines, but it was too little, too late. The other engine failed to relight in the short time available. A Mayday distress call was transmitted from the cockpit, a final, heartbreaking acknowledgement of the dire situation. But with insufficient altitude and only one engine struggling to come back online, the aircraft's descent was irreversible. In the wake of any aviation disaster, investigators begin their work by systematically considering and eliminating potential causes. This process is methodical and evidence-based, designed to narrow the focus onto the most probable factors. For the crash of AI-171, the team, led by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, quickly ruled out several common culprits. Post-accident analysis of the wreckage and the site showed no signs of an onboard fire or explosion prior to impact. Furthermore, there was no evidence of sabotage, and the possibility of a bird strike powerful enough to disable two modern, robust engines was dismissed as highly improbable given the circumstances. Further technical examinations continued to clear other potential factors. Investigators carefully checked the aircraft's maintenance logs and fuel records. They found that the Boeing 787 was considered fully airworthy before its departure, with all required maintenance procedures properly documented. The fuel loaded onto the aircraft in Ahmedabad was tested and found to be free of contamination, ruling out the possibility that tainted fuel had caused the engines to fail. Additionally, investigators analyzed the flight data to see if an improper retraction of the flaps or slats after takeoff could have contributed to the accident, but this too was determined not to have been a factor in the crash. The focus of the investigation has therefore shifted almost entirely to the cockpit and the engine fuel control switches themselves. These switches are not like simple light switches. They are intentionally designed to prevent accidental activation. On the Boeing 787, they are protected by physical guards and a metal stop-lock mechanism. To move a switch from run to the cutoff position, a pilot must perform a deliberate two-step action, first lifting the guard and then moving the lever. This design makes an inadvertent or accidental bump of the switches extremely unlikely, forcing investigators to question how and why they were moved during such a critical phase of flight. The investigation is a major international effort. Alongside India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, representatives from the United States National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration are participating, as are experts from Boeing, the aircraft manufacturer, and General Electric, the engine maker. The United Kingdom's Air Accidents Investigation Branch is also involved, as the flight was bound for London. Immediately following the crash, India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation ordered emergency inspections of the entire Boeing 787 fleet in the country, focusing on engine and fuel systems, though these inspections have not yet yielded any significant findings related to the crash. As of today, July 12, 2025, 1 month after the tragic event, no definitive cause for the crash of Air India flight AI-171 has been established. The preliminary report, which was expected around July 11th in accordance with international aviation protocols, will formalize the known facts but is unlikely to offer a final analysis or conclusion. The core of the investigation remains fixed on a single stubborn question: why did the fuel control switches move to the cutoff position? The evidence from the cockpit voice recorder suggests it was not a deliberate, coordinated act by the pilots, leaving open the troubling possibilities of a complex mechanical malfunction, an undiscovered system flaw, or a highly unusual form of human error. The ongoing probe will continue to dig deeper into the aircraft systems and the design of the cockpit controls. While no mechanical or design issues with the 787 or its GNX engines have been identified so far, investigators will meticulously examine every possibility. The lack of any urgent safety directives from major regulatory bodies like the FAA or from Boeing itself suggests that for now, they do not believe there is an imminent risk to the global 787 fleet. This indicates a belief that the crash was the result of a unique and isolated set of circumstances rather than a widespread design flaw that would require immediate action across the industry. To address broader safety concerns, the Indian government has established a separate high-level committee tasked with reviewing the operational and safety standards within the country's aviation sector. This committee's report, expected in approximately 3 months, will likely provide recommendations aimed at preventing future tragedies, regardless of the final cause of the AI-171 crash. These parallel investigations, one focused on the technical specifics of the accident and the other on systemic safety, are crucial for rebuilding public confidence and ensuring the highest standards are maintained across the board, from pilot training to aircraft maintenance procedures. For the families of the victims and the public, the wait for answers continues. Air crash investigations are lengthy and complex processes that can often take a year or more to complete. The final report will provide a detailed analysis of all the evidence, including a full transcript of the CVR, a complete reconstruction of the flight's final seconds, and a conclusion on the probable cause. Until then, the aviation community remains on edge, waiting to understand how a state-of-the-art aircraft could fall from the sky so suddenly, and what lessons must be learned from the 32 seconds that ended the flight of AI-171. We'll end the video here, and we'll be back soon with another important and informative update. If you found this video helpful or informative, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might want to know more about this tragic event. Until next time, take care and stay safe.